that's the fun thing about strength training too, is you can be like, oh, I went from 14 to 16, or I went from 10 to 12.5. And that feels really good in a time in life where so much can feel like all over the place. You can see progress in really specific ways, and that just feels good.
Absolutely. You can see at the end of the month, like on paper, I am stronger than I was at the beginning. As I always say with fitness or with strength training in particular, how empowering it is and how that transfers over to other aspects of life. I swear I talk about this every podcast, but it's so important that it builds that confidence. And so those small wins, just being like, wow, I did make the time today. In a really busy day, I did take 30 minutes to myself. And for me, I'm speaking for myself, the gyms didn't burn down. Like my family's good, and I'm even better for it. I just constantly remind myself of that when it's really hard to prioritize my health. I'm like, I have to, because I'm going to feel better. And that win is it's a confidence booster. Welcome to Real Women, Real Results, the podcast where we go beyond the reps and dive into what it really takes to live a stronger, healthier, and more confident life. I'm your host, Jamie Revelle, women's fitness expert and founder of W3 Body Women's Training Gyms in Chicagoland. Each week, we'll bring you real stories, expert insights, and the tools you need to create real results. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Real Women, Real Results. I'm your host, Jamie Revelle, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to our very special guest, Bridget. Bridget is one of the amazing women members here at W3 Body. She was actually a founding member of our Elmhurst location as well. So welcome, Bridget.
Thank you so much. This is so fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. And so I invited Bridget to be on the podcast to talk about a variety of things. But I guess first, do you mind just giving us a background of who you are and what you do?
Yes. My name is Bridget Caraher. I live in Elmhurst. I work in Elmhurst. I started Green Door Therapy with my friend Brooke almost 7 years ago, and it's a mental health therapy practice. So we have a team with 8 other therapists, and I am working out here at W3 Body, part of the awesome community here.
Yeah, awesome. That's a huge team.
Yes.
8 people. Wow.
It is.
I want to just start by asking you about your fitness journey and then talk about your practice and then particularly get into breathwork, because I know that's something new that you have been exploring. And I don't know if this is the correct verbiage, but got a certification in or did a course and just talk about like the benefits. And I don't know much about it. So I'm hoping to just have like a free flowing conversation to explore that and learn and see how it can benefit us.
Great.
Yeah.
Happy to. Excited.
Awesome. So as I mentioned, you were a founding member of the gym, which means that you signed up before we even opened. What intrigued you about the gym and why did you ultimately sign up and take advantage of the presale offer?
You know, like many women, I've had ebbs and flows of my fitness journey. And in the pandemic, I found, like many of us, I needed to do something to get moving. And so I started running more. Got into a great habit with that. And then one day I noticed the sign for W3 was coming up and I just had this feeling.
Oh, okay.
I was talking with my husband about it the other day. I was like, something about that is so exciting.
Cool.
I feel like I need to look into that. And then here we are.
Yeah.
So I feel like I was maybe ready for something else. And then seeing that it was going to be a women-only environment felt really possible and approachable. A lot of people, I feel like Coach Denise will tell you, when I showed up here in the beginning, I was like, okay, where's the 2-pound weights? And
oh, really?
How do I just kind of start this? It felt very new and unfamiliar in the beginning. So it's fun to be where I am today with it.
Cool. Wow. I didn't know that. I like that. It just, it was a feeling to join.
I was kind of maybe I should join a gym. I don't know, but I'm not sure what that would look like. I think it's a big commitment. It can feel overwhelming, but the idea of it being here and women only just felt really exciting.
Cool. That's really cool. And did you have any specific goals at the time?
I think I knew that strength was something that I was missing, strength training, as someone that just ran really only. So that was exciting to me to learn more about it. And just kind of, I had an open mind. I knew that building that part of my routine could be really beneficial. I just didn't know where it would take me. And it's been fun to see the results.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, especially if you hadn't been strength training or even
ever really.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's awesome. That's it's funny because some ladies come in and they're very nervous, or like a lady that joined yesterday, she's been kind of, I'd say stalking us on Instagram for a while. And she's like, you guys look like you have so much fun. And I'm like, well, yes, we do. But also she has never strength trained before. She did a lot of running and things like that as well. And I'm like, you're my ideal favorite member. I love when people come in and they've never strength trained
Yeah.
before because it's just so game changing
Mhm.
from a physical and mental standpoint. So that's cool. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
absolutely.
What have you loved most about being a member?
It's often that I'm driving away in the morning after being here, being like, wow, I get to start my day this way.
Mm.
Really, because, you walk into this bright space with now so many familiar faces for me and friends, fun music, usually silliness.
Yeah, a lot of silliness. She's a
And
6 a.m. member,
yeah,
so
yeah. So
we do a lot of silly
we're
things after.
enjoying the silly videos. I just am along for the ride. So
Yeah.
I appreciate everyone coordinating the silly videos. But yeah, and just as a place that I can to like kind of challenge myself. I feel like that's the fun thing about strength training too, is you can be like, oh, I went from 14 to 16, or I went from 10 to 12.5. Like, and that feels really good in a time in life where so much can feel like all over the place. You can see progress in really
Yes.
specific ways, and that just feels good. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what it's all about. And that's why we use those sheets. Well, we use them for a variety of reasons, but particularly you can see at the end of the month, like on paper, I am stronger than I was at the beginning. It's awesome. What are you proud of?
I mean, I think that come October, like you mean with the gym, right?
Yeah.
Come October, it'll be 2 years. So that's wild. That's the most consistent I've ever gone to
Cool.
a gym. I feel like that's the thing. When you show up for yourself in that way and it becomes part of your routine, that feels so cool. I think I'm also proud of the fact that like now if I don't come, I miss it.
Yeah.
It's not ever like, oh, I have to go. It's like, oh, I want to go.
Yeah. I
So
get
that's
to
cool.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And I know that, well, a lot of the girls that you work out with, did you know them prior to
I knew
coming
some
in?
of them or knew some of them a little bit, and it's
Okay.
been fun to, like, build on those
Yeah.
friendships or bring people in that I knew that now we get to spend more time
Sure.
working out together, so.
So a mix of friends of various, I guess, levels or parts of your life. But what does having a gym community mean to you?
Another place of belonging is so important. A lot of us, go to work or we have our families, but this is another place where I feel a sense of community and belonging. That matters to me. And as a therapist, I think about how that matters to so many people. We need more spaces where we feel like we belong. And especially a community like this, where, I mentioned friends and community and it's fun atmosphere, but also as a person that's, moving towards 40 and seeing what aging healthy looks like and being able to be amongst members that are younger than me and older than me, I think that gym community felt really specifically important to me and a lot of women at this point in life too. It's inspiring, right?
Oh, totally. And I appreciate your perspective as a therapist about, belonging and things because that brings, I just like the way that you phrased it because sometimes I have a hard time like explaining what I mean that we're a community first, gym second. And that's like a very, I'm going to use that. Last questions about, your fitness journey and stuff. Being a mom, how do you feel like, how is it trying to balance? Being a mom, a business owner, therapist, wife, someone who still makes it in 3 to 5 times a week and is able to prioritize their health. How is it trying to do all that?
Well, I think first I go back to like I get to, right? I have a supportive husband that can be there when I escape in the morning.
Yeah.
I have, the ability to be here and in terms of that. So I'm grateful for that. But I think also the more I live and show up in this full life of mine that I'm so grateful for, the more I realize how important it is to like prioritize myself first. It's not like an option to not take care of myself. And that can look so many different ways. One way is coming to the gym. Other ways, everyone's ways are personal. Sometimes it's just about carving out that time. And sometimes I think about that too. Even if I come here tired and I'm like, well, I didn't do as much today. I'm like, but I made that time for myself and I got what I got out of that. It's like these small promises I'd made to me. And the way I can show up for all the other things I am is by taking care of myself first.
Absolutely. What advice do you have for someone who wants to be the superwoman that you are and really wants to make their health, a priority, but they're struggling?
Like, there's no such thing as superwoman or doing it right or well, even. It's every week is different, every day is different, and finding those small ways to show up for yourself, right? Like I said, even if I come here and I'm not like, wow, I burned so much or I did this and this, if I came, that's the win.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's how do we can tend to, as humans, be all or nothing about things. And how do we be like, what are the small things I'm doing and small things build.
Yeah. And I think those, as I always say with fitness or with strength training in particular, how empowering it is and how that transfers over to other aspects of life. I swear I talk about this every podcast, but it's so important
Yeah.
that it builds that confidence.
Mhm.
And so those small wins, just being like, wow, I did make the time today. In a really busy day, I did take 30 minutes to myself. And for me, I'm speaking for myself, the gyms didn't burn down. Like
Mhm.
my family's good, but
Mhm.
and I'm even better for it.
Mhm.
I just constantly remind myself of that when it's really hard to
Mhm.
prioritize my health. I'm like, I have to because I'm going to feel better.
Mhm.
And that win is just, it's a confidence booster.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Women are amazing. We
Yeah.
do so much. We have to take care of
Right.
ourselves as much as we can along the way.
Absolutely. So, shifting gears a little bit to your professional life, what made you want to work in mental health?
I went into college undecided. I think I loved working with people. I love the idea of working with people, and found my way into mental health because it was just so interesting to me, this idea of why we are the way we are. And then found myself in careers in different types of settings. I've done hospice and domestic violence and eating disorder treatment center until I finally found private practice therapy, which became my like happy place. Because
Oh,
I love the idea of meeting with people like once a week or, even less, and walking with them through their lives. I mean, I have some clients I've worked with now for years and years. So that's really cool. I just love like getting down to the bottom of stuff, and I get to bring in curiosity, creativity, honor people's stories, and be a part of their journeys. It's cool.
yeah.
It's the coolest
And
job ever.
that is, and that's awesome that you feel that way. And how did you decide to become a business owner? Now, you
Mhm.
said about 7 years ago.
I was at a turning point where it was in early motherhood. I started Green Door the same year that Evan was born. And my friend Brooke was working at a private practice with me. And she was like, how about we start a business together? And we started having conversations. It wasn't really ever my goal. I didn't know that I saw business ownership as my like dream at the time. And it's fun how it's unfolded into something that like was totally just meant to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like we started small. It was just the two of us, and every step we just kind of went with what felt like made sense. And now here we are with a team and everything like that. So
That's awesome.
so it's been great to have this type of a job at this time in my life too. I think I wasn't sure. I mean, I remember even being like, do I want to be in mental health anymore? Where do I go from here? I feel like when you're a new mom too, you're asking all those questions like, how does
Absolutely.
work fit into life? And how does it fit into being a mom? And I think being a business owner is in one, a great responsibility. And there's also a lot of flexibility too. So,
Hmm.
and doing it with Brooke, I wouldn't have done it alone. I think having her as a partner and also a mom, we like got through all of that together.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's that
Yeah.
community, right?
Hmm.
Well, I'm glad that you just validated a lot of things in my
Yeah.
head. So I'm so glad that you said that. Where does the name Green Door come from?
When you're deciding to name something, it feels like you're naming another child. You're like, this feels permanent, and I don't want it to feel like us. We didn't want our names in it because we wanted it to be broader than us. One day I was walking, down our street in our neighborhood, and I just noticed colorful doors. And I was like, I wonder why is a door red? Or are there meanings behind why someone would paint their door yellow? And Brooke and I got to talking, and we were like, well, we both really love the color green. Like, what do green doors mean? After some Googling,
Yeah.
we found out that they mean growth and transformation.
Wow.
So we really liked that. And then a couple of days later, we were looking for an office, and we were in Villa Park. We walked up, and the door to the office was green. So we just felt like that was a sign for us
Totally.
to be Green Door Therapy.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Mhm.
And how much do you think movement and exercise have to do with mental health? And in your words, what are the benefits?
Sure. So a lot of scientists will be able to explain it better than me, but certainly mind, body, soul, all connected. And I think, exercise is good for improved sleep, which helps mental health. It's good for managing stress, which improves mental health, dopamine regulation, serotonin, like all of the things that are good for mental health are physical health. The more deep I get into mental health work, the more I realize how not separate physical and mental health are. They're so connected.
Hmm.
So I think keeping that in mind, is a big part of it.
For sure. Kind of using that to go into breath work. Tell us about that. Like, how did you stumble upon, or maybe not stumble upon, seek out this course?
Yeah, I think it's connected to what I just said about it all being connected,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, as a therapist, I'm trained in mental health, and a lot of therapy is what they call like talk therapy, right? You're talking with someone. Certainly, there's so many different types of therapy, but I found myself learning more and more about somatic approaches to therapeutic work, body based approaches, reading books about embodiment. So, Hilary McBride has an awesome book called The Wisdom of Your Body. And that just started to make more and more sense to me. And then I found breath work myself. My friend had been doing breath work with a coach for a while. So I just started making appointments with this coach and having these hour-long breath work sessions that in a way started kind of blowing my mind. It was
Really?
like, wow, some of this stuff that I've worked on in my own personal therapy and reflection, or that is my, so we all have our stuff, right? It comes up in a different way in this breathwork setting. And I'm able to move through it in a different way. It's equally healing but for different reasons. So I guess in a way, it's like this embodiment was calling for me, this idea of like, how do I pair this work of talk therapy, which is so beautiful, beneficial, with work that gets us in our bodies
Mm-hmm.
too, because both matter. And I think sometimes we're missing the full connection when we don't have body-based practices that bring us like home to ourselves,
Sure.
along with just being able to talk about my problems or things I have going on.
Yeah.
So it's a part of it.
That's cool. I have a good friend who is a dance movement therapist. And not that that's totally similar, but the way that she describes it is like it's a way to express yourself and your feelings when you don't have the words to be able to explain it. And I don't know if you would categorize breathwork as a way to express yourself, but it
Mhm.
sounds like it's, like you said, like a way to move through your feelings and stuff. So what is it? Like,
Mhm.
what did you do when you went to this coach for hour-long sessions? And also wanna draw the distinction between breathwork and meditation, if there is one, because again, I don't know.
Yeah. So breath work is anytime we're using the breath with intention to achieve a meditative state. So it can be just mindful deep breaths. It can be, sometimes people will do certain breathing exercises for calm and relaxation, like a 4-7-8 breathing, where you breathe in, you hold, and you breathe out. That can be really good for just calming your nervous system down.
Mm,
So there's a lot of breath techniques and types of, Lamaze or whatever is breath work.
sure, yeah.
Yoga has breath work. Even when I'm at the gym here, I notice I'm breathing in a specific way as I'm lifting the weights, right?
Pelvic floor therapy is breathwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of types of breath work, but the breath work facilitation that I'm mostly talking about when I'm offering individual sessions or now offering groups is a more elongated, active type of breath pattern that's being used. So oftentimes, like you said, that hour I described to you would be like we would begin with a little bit of a check-in and an intention. There'd be a bit of if someone needs to learn the breath pattern, you'd teach it to them. Breath patterns that I'm trained in, one is called conscious connected breath, and one is called like the 3-part breath. So it's basically like a certain type of breathing pattern that you then do for maybe like 20 minutes or so. So this 3-part breath, for example, that I'm trained in, you breathe in, and out. So
Interesting.
in through the belly, in through the chest, out through the mouth. And you're, laying down. Usually there's like a playlist of sorts that gets played.
Mm-hmm.
The facilitator might guide you in certain prompts as you go, but you're doing this like kind of active, specific pattern. And then at the end, there's like a rest, just like there is in yoga, where you're kind of like
Mm-hmm.
resting, not doing the active breath pattern. And the active breath pattern, basically, you're moving a lot of oxygen, you're moving a lot of energy in your body, so it can release stuck emotions. So you might find that you start laughing or start crying. One of my favorite parts is like yelling into a pillow.
Awesome.
It's definitely like opens you up to like emote and release in that way. Sometimes you get like warm or hot sensations. You might feel tingly. Some people feel like a greater connection to a sense of spirituality
Hmm.
in the experience. It's also been talked about as like similar to like psychedelic experiences sometimes for people. because you can be in an altered state of consciousness. It really gets you out of your head and into your body. So it is relaxing sometimes, but it's also very not boring.
Okay.
Right? Like, I think
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm telling people about it, they're like, okay, deep breaths, like, sound like a great
Sweet.
certification.
Yeah.
But it is about an experience you're giving yourself to really go inward and see what's there.
Wow. So like cathartic in a way?
Yeah, like I said, common to have a lot of emotional experiences and a great place to like release energy. Sometimes I'll find that I'm like moving, again,
Hmm.
laughing, making a noise, things like that. It's really great. Like we forget our bodies hold so much.
Mm-hmm.
They're holding our stories, our trauma, our stress. Sometimes we have emotions even. Have you heard of the stress response cycle?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, there's a book called Burnout by
Mm-hmm.
Amelia and Emily Nagoski, if I'm saying that right. But they talk about the stress response cycle and how, as humans, right, like we have stressors coming at us all the time. But really, in our modern world, we have way more little stressors than we're kind of built for, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
open my phone right now and I see what's going on in the world, stress. And my nervous system doesn't really know the difference about what's going on somewhere in the world versus my life, right? I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
that in, right? And then something else happens, and then something else happens. And we're not designed for like the amount that we get in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. They talk about like in caveman days, right? Like if there was a stress, the animal comes to the community, everyone rallies around while the person, takes the animal for the next meal, and then we celebrate. It's like
Yeah.
stress, action, celebrate, and we've completed. But in our regular life, we have these stressors and we don't have like a completion to the cycle. So
Makes a lot of
that's just
sense.
another way to like kind of explain it or think about it. It's like we're going in and saying like, okay, hey body, what have you been holding on to?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I invite the space for us to like let it move through, whether that's me breathing it out, whether I have tearfulness, whether I'm making a sound, a laugh, that can be kind of part of what that looks
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Exercise is also,
like.
a form of stress and in small bursts and the proper amount and form and things, it's really, really good for your body.
Mhm.
But yeah, if it's prolonged, it can have negative effects. So
Mhm.
I totally understand that. And that's like things like foam rolling and stuff is
Mhm.
so good for that and your nervous system as well. I'm curious because like I'll say I've tried meditation, but like try is I'm not sure if that's really if I really gave it a good,
Sure, sure.
we'll say the college try.
Right, right.
Um and I am just I have a very active mind, and so to calm my mind
Mhm.
is it's hard, as I imagine it is for anyone. So, like, what are those 20 minutes that you described? Like, how does someone get their mind to just go back to focus on the breath? Or is that not necessarily the goal here?
I have an active mind too. And meditation has always been hard for me also. Because I think a lot of times when people think about meditation, it's sitting in silence with your thoughts. And it can be.
Hmm.
And that can be beneficial too. And this practice, of course, in the beginning of anything when you're doing it, it's tricky and hard, just like coming to the gym with like
Yeah.
2-pound weights. I couldn't, I'm not there now, but I couldn't have been somewhere else when I started. You have
Hmm.
to start where you are. So starting will feel clunky and strange, and maybe you will be distracted. But I do think the breath pattern that I'll do, because it is so you're having to pay attention to what you're doing with the breath, it's harder for me to stay in my head. And because it is more like powerful in that way, like you find that you can sort of like click into like your body because you are moving so much oxygen and
Hmm.
energy. I find that it's harder to sit and just kind of go off on my to-do list because I'm focusing on like the breath pattern
Uh-huh.
itself
Interesting.
more. It's harder in some ways to sit and just do quiet, calm breathing meditation than this in
Yes.
my mind.
Yes.
But
I totally understand.
but the
Yeah.
cool thing is anytime you do a breath work, there's no wrong way to do it. Sometimes I've sat down or laid down to breathe thinking, oh, I'm going to do the breath pattern for 20 minutes. And then I end up deciding I kind of wanted to like move and wiggle my body to the music for a little while
Hmm.
instead. Or maybe I end up kind of like having a cry and that felt great. And I didn't feel like I needed to like breathe consistently for 20 minutes. So it's fun to like let it be what it needs to be
Hmm.
if it's all really just about self connection, anyways.
Yeah. Wow. I was going to ask, are there various levels? Like, let's say, like you said, you start somewhere.
Mhm.
So, like, if you're hosting a group class session and there's someone who's done this 20 times and there's a brand new person,
Mhm.
they all fit within the same group?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. It's so easy to be individualized, and it's so on your terms what that time looks like.
Hmm.
Like I said, it can be beneficial to just lay and be with yourself and listen to the music and try to take a few intentional breaths. That's amazing. When do we
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah,
You know?
right.
And then if
Totally.
you can find yourself getting into a rhythm with the breath, maybe something else comes up for you in that moment that hour looks like. So anyone is welcome, and it's so easy to individualize it.
What did the course entail that you did?
It was all virtual. The course was through the Breath Liberation Society. So I found out about Shauna Bryant, who runs it, through Amy Koretsky, who is my coach. I got on their like trainer wait list. Basically, it's a year-long program where I do hours of like kind of independent training, and then we did some Zoom calls because there's people throughout the U.S. and some abroad as well
Cool.
that do the training. So
Awesome.
so yeah, so I'm at the point where I'm like at the end and completing some of my like training hours too. So
Okay.
mhm.
Cool. Then you'll be on your own.
Yes.
And how do you see it fitting into your practice with like one-on-one? Obviously, group is different, but if you have a client and you're going to recommend it, does it
Mhm,
take the place of, did you say talk therapy,
mhm, mhm,
or is it in addition to
mhm.
typically?
I think it can be a great complement to it. And oftentimes people will have a breathwork session, and a lot of breathwork facilitators will set up people's breathwork sessions when they know they have a therapy session a few days later or a couple days later, because it
Hmm.
can be cool to process in therapy what comes up in breathwork.
Okay.
And vice versa, if you're working on something in therapy, you can go to breath work with intention. So, for example, if you're really like holding a lot of anxiety, you might bring that intention into breath work to say, like, what would it be like to move some of that anxiety through me today, or bring an intention around why that anxiety is showing up for me. So you can kind of work with similar things, but just in a different way.
Yeah.
So my goal is to offer it, in groups for the Green Door community and individual sessions for people who might want to do that here and there as well.
Awesome. It's really cool. I mean, I can see, of course, like the benefits and the interest
Mhm.
from a lot of people just taking like the time
Mhm.
to work on that aspect
Mhm.
of that connection and making that a priority and,
Mhm.
finding the calm within and
Mhm.
all of that. How do you use breath work in your day-to-day life? And is it something that's, yeah, is it part of a particular routine when you feel
Mhm.
like you need it?
I always like joke that I'm like a lifelong seeker. So I feel
Mm,
like I'm always going to be interested in like finding new ways to like take care of myself or connect with my body or attend to my like emotional and mental health. So I definitely feel like breathwork is one focus of that right now. But I find that in my day-to-day life, because I've been practicing so much, it does what you want it to do. Meaning like I'll find that I'll have a frustrating moment with one of my children,
mhm,
and I'll just start taking like deep breaths.
mm,
So that's kind of cool.
mhm.
When you think about how like once something becomes more habit and pattern and you're comfortable there. I mean, in therapy we talk about like coping skills, right? There's so many skills you can have to cope. The idea is to practice them in all sorts of moments so that when you are in a moment of distress, you can access them better.
Sure,
And I
yeah.
find that happens with breath work.
Okay.
The more comfortable I am with my breath because I've been practicing, the more I use it now in little moments to just
Mhm.
ground myself
Yeah,
too.
and then make more of a rational type of
Mhm.
decision or move instead of an
Yeah.
emotional one.
Tend to my like body, like, okay, like what's going on here? Ooh, I notice like my stomach's churning a little bit, my heart's beating, like, and that means like my stress is going up. Okay, where do I think it's
Mm.
at right now? Oh, it's probably like creeping up there where like if something little happens, I could see I'm gonna like
Yeah.
want to yell or get upset, right? So the more it's cool, the more awareness we can have, the more power we have
Mhm.
to do something to take care of ourselves in the moment and show
Absolutely.
up as best we can.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That makes a lot of sense. How do you think that breath work supports inner strength?
When I think about inner strength, I think about really knowing like who you are and what you care about and showing up in your life for those values. And I think breath work is a way to get clear on all of that and to continue to have a relationship with yourself so that you can bring strength into moving towards your values, showing up in your life the way that you want.
And it sounds like to me as well that it's kind of similar to strength training or really starting anything new, that you're a total novice and then it builds over time and you see those, the progressions. And in this case, you see those benefits, but you have to continue to put energy and effort into that practice. And I can imagine that would make, like, just thinking for myself, someone who is just not a breathwork person, not a meditation person. But if I pushed myself to do that and then I saw result, where I am now, let's say 3 months later versus where I started, I imagine, I don't know, I would probably feel really strong that I was able to find the time and effort and just mental space to devote to that.
Yeah, I think it's cool too, because like, just like with anything, once you've tried it, say you move away from it, right? If I came to the gym and I didn't go again for 2 years, I would lose progress and I'd have to start again. But I still won't lose everything, meaning like I'll be more comfortable than I was. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember how we did that now. And I think that's how it can be for breath work too. Even if someone wanted to open the door to it and didn't keep up the process in a big way, they still would be more comfortable than the average person to take a few breaths here and there
Yeah.
because they've done something a little bit more with that before,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And if someone is curious about trying breath work, but they have no idea where to start, what would you recommend as a simple first step?
I have a couple of groups coming in June. One is virtual and one is in person at our Elmhurst office. These are the first ones I'm doing. Well,
Cool.
I've done some virtual groups before. The majority of breath work I've done has been virtual.
Yeah.
The coach I worked with for a long time, we've only done virtual sessions. She lives in Minnesota. So it
Cool.
can be just as powerful to work with someone in that way. You're kind of in the comfort of your own home, breathing on my basement floor, whatever that looks like.
Awesome.
But yeah, I have a couple of like groups coming up. They're donation based for pay too, so people can pay what they can. And it's just I think, accessible, easy way to try it. I'm offering individual sessions, and I can give you other resources too,
Sure.
places people can look. But,
Very cool.
Mhm.
Final question about it. If you could give one message to a woman listening who is feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or disconnected from her body, what would it be?
People think that mental health is about getting calm. And I think the more that I am a therapist and that I explore breath work, the more to me it's about freedom. It's about being able to have the like range to be able to feel really sad in a moment and then also really joyful. If we numb the bad, we're numbing the good too. Being able to just, if someone's wanting to start, just connect with yourself in small ways. And that can look like dancing in your kitchen. It can look like starting a gym really like clunkily and not knowing what you're doing. I think little ways to just connect and remember that you are a human living in a body, and that a lot of times I think healing can be just remembering that. We're not meant to just go, 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 never stop. If we can carve out space to like reflect, check in, then we can show up more intentional for our lives.
Yeah. I love the way you put things. I know it's the second time I've said that in this podcast, but obviously you come from such like a genuine place that really does connect all those different aspects of our lives. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think mental health, I think sometimes people are like, oh, yeah, when people are really struggling, they need, it's like mental health is about just all of us being more alive, being more free, feeling our feelings and not feeling like we're limited on that. Like it's about being more human. And I think that sometimes isn't the message that gets sent. So
Yeah.
that's what I like to promote in my work across the board.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that message is more, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
all or nothing, kind
You
of that
go when something's
extremist.
really wrong. That's when you go to therapy.
Right.
It's like, well, also we can
Yeah.
all use a little bit more support just to like step into what it's like to take care of ourselves and know ourselves and be aware of our stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I have a good friend within my college friend group who she was saying that her and her husband go to therapy, like couples therapy, as a preventative thing. They have 2 kids, they both work. And I'm like, that's beautiful. Good for you guys, to commit to that.
Absolutely.
So really cool. So any final thoughts to leave us with, or anything else you want to touch on in terms of breath work or something I didn't ask?
No, I mean, I think it's I think one of the things I was thinking about when it comes to like strength. I'm wearing my
Yeah.
strong as a mother shirt
Love
today.
it. In green.
And yes, that's right. And when I was thinking about what strength means to me at this point in my life too, I was thinking about this year when so I have a 7-year-old Evan, and he's nearby as a first grader, and he is one of the tallest kids in his class.
Awesome.
And in the beginning of the year, and I'm fairly short. I'm like 5'2". I'm not a big person.
Yeah.
And so he started this thing in the beginning of the year where he would run to me.
Awesome.
And so run and jump on me. And it just kind of started and kept going.
Oh,
And
geez.
for a while, people were like, he's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Are you okay? And I was like, no, I think I've got it.
Yeah.
And then it became this joke that I was strong enough to get him. I would brace. But
Yeah.
I was thinking about that
You
with
have
Depth
to.
3 body,
Yeah.
I literally think me being able to not tell him to stop running towards me and jumping at me was because of my time at W3.
Aw.
And being able to, strength looks different, mental health looks different in different seasons, right? And it's fun to find the little places that it shows up. And that was a little
Yeah.
place for me that I was like, I think if I wasn't at a gym actually strength training, I wouldn't be able to have my 60+ pound
Yeah.
first grader
And growing.
running at me after school and feel like I wasn't going to fall over and hurt
Yeah.
myself. So just
That's
wanted to share that
beautiful.
with you because I think it's a fun, sometimes when we do things to take care of ourselves, we don't realize the little ways it shows up. So,
Yeah, totally. And how it transfers.
and that was a gift for me.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, he will continue to grow. So you just have to continue strength
It'll
training.
end at some point. But,
Yeah.
this year, first grade year, I was never told him to stop. So.
Yeah. You find that joy in it. That's really cool. Well, awesome. Where can people find you, whether it's your website, social media? Let's say I want to contact you for talk therapy or breath work.
So we are at Green Door Therapy. So on Instagram, we're at Green Door Therapy, and our website is greendoortherapy.com.
Perfect.
So those are some of the best ways to reach us.
Fantastic. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bridget. This
Thank
was
you.
really enlightening, and I learned a lot, and I'm personally really intrigued.
Yeah, I will
and-
set you up for a breathwork.
Okay. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
That's-
What did you get yourself into?
I know,
don't
that scares me, but I think it's so important to find that calm and be able to, like you said, have the skills and the tools to just recenter. And it takes practice, it takes work, but I think it's super worth it. So
yeah, it's a journey I'm still on too, and I'm happy to keep sharing about it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Real Women, Real Results. If you loved this episode, be sure to follow the podcast and leave a review. It helps more women find these powerful stories. If you're local and want to join our gym, check out our 4-week trial. Head to train@w3body.com for more info. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, w3body_Berwyn and w3body_Elmhurst for more strength, support, and community. See you next time.